You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. Now, I'll read this message that was sent by Dr. Clementa Park. He's one of the crusaders on the issue of the presidential staffers. And I really want to thank my friend who sent the full description of the lady in waiting job. That was a lot, very enlightening. Now, Dr. Park says that technically every political appointee working at the office of the president is a presidential staffer. So the chief of staff, all the way to drivers proposed by the president and approved by the Council of State are staffers. Thus, junior political appointees are all staffers. He says at our time, we had 8. Nanado has chosen to use junior political appointees. Baseline, they are all staffers. Note that presidential staffers shall be entitled to such salaries, allowances, facilities, and privileges as shall be determined under Article 71 of the 1992 Constitution, Section 6 of the Presidential Office Act, 1993, Act 463. So he's reinforced the point that was initially being made as I put the question to Mahama Yariga about the entitlement of those appointed in the office of the president, which I said some are on the scale of deputy minister and minister. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what he had just, confirmed. Yeah. Thank you.
You didn't read the
198?
No.
So
let's read it.
You read it when we're off air.
Lady in waiting. I read it on air.
Oh,
no, he read it
on air. Okay, right. That's good.
I read it on air.
No, first of all,
and sorry, let me just go over it again.
What he said is not true.
Let me go over it again. Lady in waiting, supervise and ensure close security and convoy, carry out continuous threat analysis, organize, prepare, and brief on schedules and events, follow up on arrangements and schedules, update and coordinate. That's the first lady. Coordinate the first lady's schedules and deadlines. Organize and ensure vehicles are prepared and convoy ready for movement. Maintain a diary of the first lady's activities with her consent. Ensure daily domestic routines are timely carried out. And that's what you have as per the role. And this is the military personal assistant, lady in waiting. Thank you very much. So,
very good point.
As we mentioned, we won't be able to get to the last issue, which is about the sports ministry and matters of visa racketeering, and then the deportation of 73 Ghanaians from the Commonwealth Games. We should be able to deal with that sometime later. The agreement here is that we deal with the SNIT matter as much as we can before we go. So, starting with Kweku on the SNIT issue. Now, the board, together with some management staff of SNIT, did a press conference, and at the press conference informed the nation about, charges that, arrests and charges that had been, preferred against a number of 3 people or 4. Subsequently, the Attorney General has had to speak about this issue. And they also spoke about an audit that has been done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and all pointing to a very troubling situation. I think we can listen to that bit of the press conference before we take your views on what is happening.
The complaints allege that a total amount of about $70 million was paid to PBS in respect of the OBS project. The original OBS contract sum was $34.0 million, but at the time the project was completed, the contract sum had shot up to $66.8 million and 36 million Ghana cedis. This means that at the end of the OBS project, an additional amount of 32 million US dollars and 36 million Ghana cedis was paid to PBS.
Then stop.
All right. 5 suspects were arrested, and they are Ernest Thompson, former Director General of SNIT, Mrs. Juliet Hassana-Kramer, CEO, PBS, John Hagan-Mensah, former OBS Project Manager, Caleb Kweku Afaglu, and Thomas Samson Owusu. However, 4 of them have been cautioned. These include Ernest Thompson, Mrs. Juliet Hassana-Kramer, John Hagan-Mensah, and Caleb Kweku Afaglu. After investigations, the office preferred charges of willfully causing financial loss to the state against
Thank you very
these
much.
suspects.
Yes, we can't tell you everything, but the right thing is being done. This document is from EOCO. We are not pushing anything under the carpet. We are working very seriously. If the figures you want, and in due course, you have them. So don't think the SNIT is conniving with anybody. No, EOCO has gone over, and the report we have from Pricewaterhouse is quite similar to the report we had from EOCO. So that side has been taken care of. What Pricewaterhouse is doing is trying to up the game so that management will be better, human resource management will be better, investment management will, they are trying to help us manage the place better than before. But so far as criminal activity is concerned, EOCO has already dealt with that.
The project in question was part of a larger automation project, which was supposed to automate the business processes of SNIT. That project was also part of this audit or this review that PwC has carried out. The issues that at that time we said that we have been investigated and documented. The costs of that project has been factored into the report. I think that when we photocopy the executive summary, you will be apprised as to what the distribution is and what the numbers are. So that project is subject matter of that report.
All right, so Kweku, where do you start? People are asking, what was the point of this press conference to start with? And there's an audit that's been done. For example, Ernest Thompson has come out to say they were unaware of any audit of the sort, they were not contacted. We have also have the software, the company, that's, was involved in this. They also have Perfect Business Systems also come out. There's been reaction to each point that has been made. That suggests that, all is not well.
All is not well with, you mean what?
Is going on.
I have just been able to assess some of the documents or records. I'm studying them. Of course, I don't claim to have the technical competence to understand the full details, but at least I've been reading and analyzing. See, maybe SNIT management and board could have done without the press conference. But perhaps the idea was to update the citizenry on what has been happening. After all, this became an issue some time ago. So if there's any update and they decided within their discretion to tell us, fair deal. But I think there are some few things that we need to clarify. This price water thing, my understanding is that it wasn't really a forensic audit. my understanding is that it was what they call baseline review of some sort. And so they didn't require the input of any previous management. They were to come take a look at the situation there. What is it that is there at this stage? What is there in terms of equipment, personnel, and things? So give us a situation report of the thing you see and its efficiency and all the rest. That's distinct from what the EOCO was doing. The EOCO appears to have finished with their investigations. They send their report to the AG. As I've checked, my sources at EOCO says that they only cautioned the people that were investigating. They didn't charge anybody. They are waiting for the AG's advice as to what they should do going forward.
Yeah, the AG has said that,
yes,
that she determines what happens.
Yes, so it was a surprise that the impression was created that not impression, we were told.
Yeah, that's this number have been arrested.
Yes, and charged and all that. That appears to have been, it's not that appears, it was wrong information that was put out there, and that's not good enough, you know. But the little I'm seeing, and again, we come back to our own principle, that as much as possible, we shouldn't use the media or the public space to try people. In my mind's eye, I see this thing ending up in court with some possible criminal prosecution. You know, so I really don't want to. But I've seen all sorts of things, some of them not too pleasing, you know, in terms of the warranty and the service level agreement. Even though I'm not a lawyer, when I read some of them, it doesn't click, you know. And there are a few things happening at the SNIT level. Some of the personnel who were there previously, you know, are coming up with all sorts of things. I have to be honest, I'm constrained because to say, to articulate some of the things I've seen will amount to me trying some people and making a judgment, even though the case hasn't gone to court yet.
Right.
You know? So maybe we have some liberty to deal with the thing. But honestly, let's wait and see in the next few days what the Attorney General's advice will be to EOCO. And then the situation will unfold in the court of law. I've developed that particular philosophy, and I do not want to go back on it, you know, to be honest with you. Well, what I read in both the EOCO report as well as the price water, no, it's not too good enough, to be honest with you.
Okay. The Ernest Thompson's lawyers issued a statement, and just a part of it, they say that the usual mantra of the management led by the Director General has been the spurious allegation intended to deceive the public that the original contract price of $34 million escalated to $72 million without explaining how or what brought about the price escalation, which should actually be the crux of the matter. And then they say that this appears to be what it is. In the original scoping for the contract requirement, that put the contract sum at $34 million. Provision was made for only 400,000 cards. Meanwhile, SNIT has a contributor population of over 3 million. Again, the scoping provided for only 5 kiosks. That's the ATM machines that they were to use. Whereas SNIT has about 54 branch offices throughout the country. Each needed to be provided with the kiosk to enable the contributors to access any information required. Then they say from the above, therefore, the purchase for additional cards of over 2 million and 50 kiosks in furtherance of the effective management of the project would justifiably be in the right direction, which would lead also to the contract price escalation automatically. Yes, Dominic.
Something. Just before that, I think that I'll talk to my good friend Bente Kofi and give him the official email of the Flagstaff House, of the Jubilee House. But that will be later. There is one, but I'll give it to him officially. Samson, if you are in government and you have been trusted as a head, either as minister or head of entity, I would advise strongly that don't vary a contract more than 50%. It will lead you into trouble. If you have awarded a contract and you want to vary that contract, cancel more than 50%, cancel it and re-award the contract so that others can come in. But to vary a contract more than 300% is very worrying. And I think that it's untidy, it's not good for the people who varied this contract more than 500%. It's worrying.
500?
Yeah, I think so.
No, 34 to 70.
No, 148. It's not right. I think now they are talking of the figures around 140 something. So it's no more 200. It's over 300, 400%. I think that is the point that I have a big problem. And I think that contract ought to have been cancelled, re-awarded, and awarded publicly, rather than try to award a contract and now vary the thing more than 300, 400%. I think it's not good. It's not good practice. It's against the Procurement Act. And in all fairness to them, they should really look at that justification. The justification that we had 400,000, we are budgeted for 400,000, and now we have over 3 million, and so we have to make up the budget. And we had 5 stands, and now we have 54 stands. We have to make up the budget. Cancel the contract and re-award it. Give the others opportunity. But to award a contract for 38 million, and it will balloon, that same contract, remember, that same contract is now ballooning to over 140-something million, is wrong. And I think that if anybody is listening to me, and especially in this government, thinks of doing that, varying a contract more than 50%, don't do it. The law does not allow you to vary a contract to more than a certain amount. So in that case, that contract in itself that they did, if they paid, was illegal. And I think that I'm not the prosecutor. I don't intend to know better than the prosecutor, but I think that they will answer for that aspect as well. Now, the meat of the job or the meat of the contract is we'll go to court.
From those who did the project suggests that if they had contacted, they would have had explanations to most of the things that they have, and they have given point by point.
No, we understand.
To show actually that, to suggest that, for example, look at this, where they say that application approvals is permitted even when the number of months is less than the minimum required. Now, that's for the benefits. They say that upon lodgement and computation of benefits application, the pensioner was eligible for pension entitlement. However, the contribution histories were adjusted and fall short just before the approval action. This exceptional scenario only brought to our attention in January 2018 when SNIT engaged the Perfect Business System and Silver Lake team. SNIT was required to raise the issue on the vendor service desk as per the procedure and provide the supporting information for further investigation and resolution if required. We are still waiting for SNIT to raise the issue at the vendor service desk with the supporting documentation. Until this is done, investigation cannot proceed. PwC should therefore get SNIT to lodge the issue at the vendor service desk as per the procedure.
But so they have the PwC is not a criminal investigation department. In fact, they were not looking at the criminal aspect, so they didn't need to talk to the other people. What they needed to do, which they have done, is to talk to the current workers, current managers. If PwC were to go around talking to the former DG and the former board chairman, they would have been investigating. It's as if they are investigating them for a crime. No. What PwC can do, and what they did, is to look at the SNIT practices and talk to the current managers. It's left with the police, the criminal investigation department of the police, to double cross-check and find whether they committed a crime or not.
Like we said, EOCO has already finished its work.
So PwC didn't do any wrong thing. Samson, if you are an entity head today our procurement law says that 100,000 Ghana is your limit. Beyond that, you go to the entity tender committee. They have a limit. If you cross a certain threshold, you have to go to the national tender national tender committee for approval, and that is there. Okay. That's why I said to you that if you are varying a contract beyond a certain figure, don't do it. You get yourself into trouble. And I don't know how they are going to explain how you can award a contract or vary a contract of more than $20–30 million without going to the national entity. You can't. Okay. By law, you can't.
Okay. Now, let's hear Mama Yaga. But you see, what they have just sent in as their response, I think that is only fair that we share.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
And they say, for example, that the audit has labeled certain applications as duplicates and suspected duplicates.
Okay.
When they are actually not. They have done that erroneously. They say that, for example, that statement is inaccurate. In the registration and re-enrollment modules, the application go for one-to-many identification in order to identify suspected duplicates and eliminate duplicate transactions. In order to achieve that, there is a deduplication threshold set in the automated fingerprint identification system. In the process of matching of the application and the master record, there could be a hit on the threshold or matching score, and this will go into suspect duplicate, which is a standard IFS process. There is an adjudication functionality on the system for overriding the process. This is therefore not an error, but a standard IFS process which was agreed with SNIT during the project implementation. Finally, they say, therefore, this could not be said to be an error, and as such, the statement by PwC is inaccurate. Mahayarga.
Well, I mean, there are many ways of looking at this matter. First, the issue about being in the media and trying people in the media, which I think is one of the primary concerns of the lawyers and the clients in this matter. I don't think any of them is against investigating any issue. They said you can investigate. In fact, we're available to assist you with investigation. But to go on air, organize press conferences, and create an impression that people have actually been charged with offenses for which really they haven't been charged, to create an impression that there's been investigation and all we know is some study or work that is being done by PwC. That is one issue. Second issue is out there, the impression created is that an offense has been committed, money has been stolen because you started a project and the initial price was 34, pardon? When you go on air, you are talking about, you know.
They say willfully causing financial loss to the state. There's a distinction between that and stealing.
That's what they said.
You know that.
Cause financial loss to the state. They didn't say you stole money.
No, listen.
Anyway.
Causing financial loss to the state, yes. But then also implicit in it is that there's corruption and there's some chopping.
But nobody said that.
Oh, but this whole thing that is happening
I like that.
No, it's pursuant
you never give up.
No, it's pursuant to a strategy.
When we said implicit in the parliament one, he said no, that one is legal.
No, it's pursuant to. No, you see, the argument is that it's pursuant to a grand strategy by our friends in government to sustain a certain perception that the government that was ousted was a corrupt government, and they are still struggling very hard to keep sustaining that perception. So every day they pick up a matter, not on the basis of the law and the merits of the case, but the antics of it that succeeds in perpetuating that perception. This is a very simple matter. Why? I heard this about a year ago. In fact, about a year ago, I think, that this matter came up about SNIT procuring an OBS system. So are you saying that it is taking us 1 year to carry out a simple...
investigate.
You know, whether it was EOCO or whoever was investigating, are you telling me that it's taking us 1 year to carry out a simple investigation of a contract
have been 1 year.
Please.
No, but there's been a history of even more than 2 years.
Listen, even if it was 6
this
months.
is March.
There's a lot of money involved. You don't want them to be diligent in what they do and take their time.
But that's the whole idea. The whole idea is that there's nothing. But we have to keep creating an impression that there's something so that we can keep maligning and sustain. Anytime that we are under pressure because we haven't built the dams and the rains are approaching and people discuss dams, let's divert attention. Let me get to the merits. So
where you put people on trial.
First, his issue. First, his issue. His issue is that the contract sum was 34 million. It ended up at 148 million. Assuming that is the case, I'm also quite concerned about it. And also I would take his advice that when you are in charge of procurement and you are faced with situations like that, maybe the best thing to do is allow the first contract to run its life, and then you can start another process. Maybe the same person may well win because the person is the one who has started the project anyway. But you see, another contract that started at $50 million, I recall ended at $176 million. And that is where President Akufo-Addo is sitting and working now. That is the Jubilee Flagstaff House.
India is the bank.
Jubilee
Flagstaff was a grant.
Jubilee Flagstaff House matter.
Don't bring politics.
No, it's not politics. I'm talking about contracts. Contract sums escalating.
No, it's true. It was 30 million. Yes. That's the grant element from the Indian.
It was a grant.
But it went on and on and on.
And there was 76 million.
Something.
76.
The payments took place both under Kufuor administration and the Mills administration.
Yes. 176 million.
It's true.
Yes.
Not the figure, but it went beyond 100.
176. It's 176.
Not exactly.
Not exactly. Maybe plus thousands.
100 and something.
Few thousands.
Sorry, so what I trying to say? So I need to have Prof speak before we close. Yeah.
So if it's the price changing, contract sums changing, I think that his advice is well founded to all public officers. But that one on its own doesn't constitute, in my opinion, that you have caused financial loss. It may well be that when we go and analyze what you have done, you negotiated diligently and got the state the best terms. So that doesn't establish causing loss. You have to go and establish the specifics that have led to the cause of loss, that loss actually occurred. That is my argument.
I'm saying it's illegal. It's illegal to have
AG studying the docket.
That's what I said.
Yes. So that's
in this case, it was illegal to have
General is studying the docket.
So if he pays money illegally, you are causing financial loss.
Attorney General is studying the docket. She hasn't finished. Then my uncle, Dr. Kufo, goes on radio and on television, and he's my intermeter. I say, my uncle Hart is. But he goes on radio, on television, and it's created an impression that Ernest Thompson has done something wrong. Ernest Thompson is available. He says, I'm available for any investigation. How many years will it take you to find out whether or not this simple matter, whether the value is what the public is paying for or not?
Okay.
Those are, for me, the issues.
All right. Yes, Prof, it does appear that this issue, like they said, it's taking us quite a long period now, but it's not ending anytime soon.
It's not 1 year, isn't it?
It's been quite a while. I think we discussed it a lot sometime in August, of last year.
6 months I can agree, but not 1 year.
Right. Please. So what do you have to say, particularly when we now are having responses from the people who were involved, where they are suggesting that some of the things that Pricewaterhouse has detected are actually issues that they have deployed a solution, but SNIT itself has not done what it's supposed to do.
Well, let me say that the relative field discussion should cease, because this is really public money. These are money. Yes, money. These are people's parents are going home and dying a year or less after retiring. And when these things happen, I think that we need to be very careful. And so let's leave the argument about so we are trying to throw things. The relative field argument is not good enough. Oh, we did less and you did more. It's not good enough. But I think that for me, I was happy that for a while the issue went silent, and then I heard that an independent body had been asked to go and look at what the situation is like, and I felt really comfortable with that. Of course, the discussion about whether or not they spoke to people and didn't speak to people is a subjective matter which can be dealt with. But I think the principle is that we want to be able to ascertain the system that was acquired at what cost, what is the state of that system, and what are the problems that currently we think we are facing. And so I think it's okay. The second thing I'm happy about is that this is already taking some legality, and that it will go to court, so people who are alleged to have done wrong can go ahead and justify whether or not they did wrong and not. But for me, the bottom line is that money is wasted. Right. Whether or not in the end people go to jail for it or not, money is wasted. And we must begin to look for systems that ensure that we prevent monies from being wasted in the manner that these monies have been wasted. 140 million or 48 million dollars. That's a lot of money that most Ghanaian workers would be, if we were to share in per SNIT contributor share of 148 million. That's a lot of money for most teachers, most public servants or civil servants across the country. So it is important that we take note of how much money it went into this, but it is also important to protect and give people fair chances to defend themselves and all of that. Let the legal process start, and let's see what happens.
If there is one.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so my guests have been...
So my military lady, lady in waiting has stand up all this. But it's a good time, because we've not been using it in Ghana. She has so much duties to do.
Okay.
But so we should start using that.
We have to be careful. We have to be careful what duties we have to do.
You should go to Wikipedia and Google.
That is what I'm telling you.
And you will see other functions of ladies in waiting.
You see, but even if the job of that person is, as it were, to receive people and smile and make sure they have places to sit and wait to have their turn if they are meeting. If they are meeting whoever at the presidency, that is a job that should not be denigrated. Okay, thank you very much.
At all.
My guests have been Abdul Malik Kubako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Professor Justice Baole is head, Department of Public Administration and Health Services Management at the University of Ghana Business School. Mahama Yarga is MP, Chairman, Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament, and Dominic Nitiwul is MP, Minister for Defense. We wish the MPP and their executive elections the best throughout the day. Have a good afternoon. My name is Samson Ladia Yanini. My outfit, as always, is by Latida. Be in vogue.